scene. Now, the other one that I've been dying to ask you, again, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to you since. I'll just keep subtly mentioning that here and there. 2014, there were some intense rumors that you were in talks with the UFC to fight Ronda Rousey. How close were you to actually fighting Ronda Rousey and fighting in the UFC?
So I remember Dana had finally called after all these years, not called me, but like called my representatives. And they said, they'd like to sit down and have a conversation. So, I mean, I actually met Dana long ago when he was doing the WEC, and I was fighting for Strike Force, and they had said, him and Lorenzo came in, or I went to their offices, and they said, hey, you don't have to fight the cyborg chick. Why don't you come over here and fight for the WEC, and why don't you fight for us? And I was like, well, I've got a contract, and Scott Coker's always been pretty good to me, and they said, we can get you out of it. We won't be able to directly like be involved, but we'll finance it. And then I just thought, I I said that I signed this contract, and that's my word on there. And I said to the people and all the fans that I said I was going to fight Cyborg. So um, I just didn't want to get into like this messy like legal battle that where I had said I was going to do something all before the Cyborg fight, and then never let it happen. So I just and I think that was my last fight on that contract. So I ended up fighting Cyborg and kind of brushing that off. But then cut to like, I don't know, when Ronda Rousey became popular, I remember they finally called for a meeting, and I walked in. They were like in this restaurant, and they looked like two I don't know, just like two like big, muscly guys at a table in like the middle of like Hollywood. And I remember thinking, um, what took you guys so long? I've been not like, what took you so long? And so they were like, okay, well, we'd love to offer you $1 million. We'd love to, have that fight. And I was like, um, well, that sounds great. I'm gonna need you to do me a favor then, because I've been acting now, and I'm not active in any gym, so it's gonna take me. It's gonna you're gonna have to give me some time to build a team and go join a team, which is not an easy thing, as sure as all the fighters know in this. You have to find a team or build one that's gonna like be into what you're doing. And if you haven't been like actively a part of anything, you can walk in as Gina Carano or whoever, and you still have to like, find the people that are going to really be there for you, and that takes time. So I told him, you got to just be able to sit on this for about 6 months, Dana. Like you can't say anything, and let me like get situated with that in mind, because that sounds great, and I'd love to do it. And so it was a nice dinner, and we all left, positive, and I left stoked, and I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. This is my moment to come and be back in there. And then like the next day, Dana was out there talking about me, and like saying, talking about my name, and like telling the people that he was going to sign me. And I don't even have a team yet. And I was like, that's not what we discussed. You're supposed to give me at least 6 months to kind of like find a team. Like, and then he started trying to put on the pressure through the media. And then it just really kind of, it was a bummer, because I told him over text message, like that's not what we talked about. I need time. I can't just like, now I'm gonna walk into a gym and people know that's what I'm doing. I need to build trust. I need to find people. And so then he kept on doing that. He kept on doing that. And I'm still, still kind of searching for a team and like feeling all that pressure. And then he sent me a text message that said, "This bitch isn't. This bitch isn't. This bitch isn't like something us around, like effing us around or something like that." And I sent a text message back. I said, I think that you sent that to the wrong person. And he said, I don't think I did. And and that was the last conversation that we had over text message, because I don't think that that was like the kind of environment I wanted to come back into. And so I just cut all communication after that text. And um, then I remember seeing him when Mike Tyson and my dad were getting honored at a like a sports hall of fame in Las Vegas. And he did come over and he genuinely apologized. But yeah, I just don't think that even $1 million, you shouldn't, you know, when people hold money over your head, which they have done since I was a little girl, it's just never been a turn on for me. If it aligns, I don't have a problem with authority. I just have a problem with abused authority is my thing. So that was the end of that conversation.
Wow. I had no idea about that. Wow. That is wild. So is that when the UFC dream ended in your mind, that you would never fight there?
Well, I mean, UFC, yeah. But there was always Scott Coker and there was all these things. But then I really, really have enjoyed doing this acting world. When I came up and when I was fighting, it was kind of like a known thing. Like you had to have a side hustle. You had to, and I've always believed in, if I make myself to where they need me, then I can do what I want. And so to not rely on anybody, to not rely on promotions, and to make myself somebody to where they need me, I learned that early on. So I don't know. And then I don't know. And then I don't know how I even got here, but
I remember tweeting you the week of UFC 184 when it was Ronda Katzengano and Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, the first time ever that it was two females headlining and co-headlining the card, so four in total, and asking what you thought of it all. And as you saw this actual explosion of women's MMA, and it happened with a new person, with Ronda Rousey, and she became the face of women's MMA. And I know you used to never like that term. You never wanted to be called the face of women's MMA, but you were the face of women's MMA. You got it on broadcast television. You were the first one. You were the pioneer. I know there were some before you, but you were the one that broke through those doors. What did that feel like, watching that happen without you, not being a part of that? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you missing out? You're missing out on all of this. Did you feel like it was an extension of you? How were you coming to terms with that?
I think for moments in my life, I have been, um, well, I've always felt so silly because there was always girls that came before me. There was Debbie Purcell, Erin Tohill, Shayna Baszler, Marlis Conan was there before me. Um, but I mean, it was so small. So Angela Parr was in Muay Thai before me. Lucia Riker. There's like so many incredible women, female athletes that came before me. So at the time, I felt so silly. I didn't understand this whole face of anything. But now when I look back, I really am genuinely proud to have played that role in it, and I'm still proud to have played the role of I did want to be the first woman in the UFC, and when I watched that, it hurt in a way, but at the same time, um, like, look at my life now. So it was a dream that didn't get to happen, but I was able to open up doors for women to walk into gyms and make it be easier, and I'll always cherish that.
Why does this make you emotional? Is this sadness that's coming out, or happiness?
It's I know how hard it was to walk into gyms. Um, like there was moments where they would tell, I just went in and I kept my mouth shut and I just did my job. But there was moments where they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, it smells like fish in here! Like, get him out of here! Get him out of here!" Like talking about the women who I needed as training partners. And so, I mean, I've seen how hard it was. And now when you go to like a Muay Thai place or you go to BJJ and you get to see like these little girls just kicking ass, that's where I feel like I've actually made some sort of difference in history. And even Rhonda herself said that when she saw me and Julie do that, when she saw us fight on, Elite XC, um, that it just clicked in some of their brains that we could do this too, and we could do it in a big way. And so I might have not gotten credit for things, but that's just fine because there's women out there who have a bigger dream now, and it's easier to live and to really just go for something, whereas I missed out on doing it, but they can.